You are listening to an exclusive interview on Bass Musician Magazine. The interview starts now.
Hey everybody, this is Raul for Bass Musician Magazine, and today we have the great honor and pleasure of chatting with guitarist and bassist Adrian Connor. Hey, Adrian.
Hey.
Adrian is coming to us through the virtue of Skype. She is currently on tour with her band Adrian Connor, aka Spaz Kitty. They are in Salt Lake City, kind of touring the Northwest, if I'm not mistaken, so heading towards Boise. And Adrian, so people, I know predominantly you're most known for your guitar work with Hell's Bells, a little AC/DC tribute music going on there. But you also play bass. But tell us a little bit about your musical journey. How did you get started?
I started on guitar and 15, and my parents didn't listen to classic rock or any kind of guitar music, so I only knew like the 80s pop stuff. And so I thought I would always be like a singer or something, but then I realized I wasn't that great of a singer to be, like a singer, you know what I mean? I could do that. So I fell in love with the guitar, and then I started hearing classic rock once I got to public school. And so then I fell in love with, all of that music, and then just started writing my own music in like 2000 and put it out. It took me 2 years to come out with the first album. And I've been making albums ever since. Yeah, so I've put out like 9 albums. I'm in 2 other projects. House Bells is like my main source of income. And I started playing bass on the 2016. Oh, wait, no, I released it this year. 2018 release of Oshabo, but started making it in 2015. And I started playing bass, and it opened up like a whole new world of songwriting and listening to music. And like bass is like kind of more fun than guitar because it's not about being flashy, it's about playing rhythm. And you know what I mean? And it's kind of a relief. It's like, I'm like I just have to be in time, and like and it like also helped me write songs in a different way. Like if before I would just like chunk it out on guitar and be like, okay, well, what do I do next? And now with Logic and all this other stuff, like the ability to edit so easily and pick up another instrument. It's like, oh, wow. Okay, well, why don't I play bass for a little bit? And it also opened up, like if I lay a bass line down and then go away for a while and come back and kind of forget about it, then it doesn't dictate. It feels like there's like more of an openness to try different guitar things over it. And so I really love that about the bass.
Well, and the bass has such unique characteristics in that it's both percussive and melodic. And so it does fit perfectly to set up a scaffolding that you can build on. And the other thing, and of course, what I've played guitar before I played bass as well. I think probably the biggest challenge, if nothing else, is just changing the mindset so you're not thinking like a guitarist while you're playing a bass, because things can get way too convoluted and busy because with a guitar you're trying to fill all of the space, and with the bass you're leaving those gaps and those areas in between that will allow you to fill it in with your guitar work, with other instruments. And I think you start grasping how a single half note change will make the whole sentiment of a tune be so different. And I think many times we think to classic rock. I always think Beatles. When you listen to some of the bass lines and you go, wow, this is so different because of what McCartney did to it, that it would have been something maybe a whole lot more superficial or a lot, but I'm getting this feeling because of this bass note. So it's of course this is why we dedicate ourselves to bass, but there's nothing wrong with playing more than one instrument, and it does expand your grasp enormously. So when you're playing bass, what people always like to know a little bit about gear. What are you playing on?
Mostly, well, I haven't really done it live. I've just been doing it while creating, and I just I have that. It's in that airport coffee video. It's a little Fender Jaguar bass,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I mostly chose that because the neck is thin and small because my hands are small. So I just plugged direct into the duet, and then I used in Logic, like for like Airport Coffee, I designed, just went into I chose a plugin and like the wah plugin, I
Okay.
think on Logic X.
Yeah.
And then you can pick, I just messed with the knobs on like to kind of mimic that Qtron sound. Yeah, and just made sure that it was super reactive to so and that made that playing really fun. But I didn't go to tape, as they say, with it. I added that on later. Yeah, I just go direct. At this point, I don't have a bass amp because I don't play live yet, but I have been thinking about, wow, I could probably start like, chasing down bass gigs if I want, but I got to start, metronoming, you know what I mean? Like practice, because I want to play like this. I don't want to play with the pick. I want to play like this. And that's how I played on all the bass that I've done on albums so far has been this.
Yes.
That's important to me.
Absolutely.
I can't do this yet though.
Well, and the beauty of it is that as you're listening to your sound and the subtleties, whether you're using your fingers or whether you're using a pick, the nature of the instrument, I mean, it's just like with guitars, you start going, okay, this one has this sound that I like, or this has this feel that I like. With basses, weight is another consideration. A lot of your rock stuff goes to some of those heavy basses. I always kind of jokingly say like an 18-year-old doesn't notice how heavy it is, but I do. The moment I'm picking it up going, okay, yeah, no, I'm not going to play this for very long because it just weighs too much. But the sonic characteristics of the wood, the shape, I mean, my gosh, and not to mention like stage presence. If you're playing something, you want it to look one way while you're on a stage, whereas in a studio, I mean, who cares what it looks like? It's what it sounds like and what it feels like. So, it's all part of the journey. And the bass community has the term gear acquisition syndrome, because once you get started, it's like potato chips. You kind of go, okay, well, I have this one. Now let me try this one. And before you know it, you've got a room full of basses, and they're kind of, song specific. And if you're lucky, you find the one you really like, and then that turns into your, main bass. I'd go back to like with Paul McCartney, because he's left-handed. Hofner is a violin shape, and it can be set up left or right-handed. And so it's a question of practicality. Instead of playing an instrument that wasn't made to be left-handed, you could just do this. So
that's kind of why I chose that little Jaguar bass, because of but I actually liked the sound of this. It was like a black Fender P bass. It had all these different settings. It had like the little black thing that it's maybe like on a guitar it would be a toggle switch, but it's like a tiny little and it had the cooler sound, like going to tape, like way better sound than the Jaguar. But I picked the Jaguar because I could handle it better with my hands.
Sure.
Just coming out as a guitar player.
And that's another important.
Like, I have both.
Yeah, that's another important thing, because you get either active pickups or passive pickups, whether it has an EQ or not. There's a lot of musicians that actually go the opposite way, and all they want is like an on and off switch, and they're going to do all the sound mixing and all this stuff either at the board or on their computer or through the pedals or whatever. So there's no wrong way to go about it. You kind of find what it is that works for you. Now, I know that you're touring right away, and I will make sure we have the video for Airport Coffee, because it has you both on guitar and on bass, and you work with you've got a drummer.
Oh yeah. He's currently getting the oil changed in the van while I'm like, dude, go get the oil change while I do the interview. It's right there.
There you go.
Because we gotta rush
distract the drummer, send him off to do a chore while you do something useful. And what future plans do you have? It sounds like you're just, again, growing with bass, but what are you thinking of doing here in the upcoming days?
I'm wondering, well, I'm going to go do this like trip to Spain, and I got to set up the computer and Ableton so I can like play songs like Airport Coffee, because that's predominantly software. And so I'm like, should I bring a bass and a guitar? Because there's like, the guitar drops out and it's all about the bass, and it'd be fun to like, perform at people, bass, like put the guitar down, pick the bass up, run out, mess with people.
Absolutely.
So I'm thinking of adding bass into the show, so I can do that song. And then now, because it's so inexpensive for me to create music, Logic. I mean, I went to school for sound, so it's really easy for me to, create music in there and understand what's happening. And before, I would have to go to a studio and work all that stuff out for, $60 to $75 an hour, 40, whatever, whatever you find. But now it's like, so I might start even creating more. I mean, I might start on the next album.
Nice.
I would love to keep touring, but my drummer can only take a couple weeks off from work a year. So I'm like, So I might also be trying to figure out how to set the computer up to actually like do more of like a longer set. And I might have to start learning how, if I want to keep going out and playing, I'm going to have to, figure this out on the computer and play the tracks. And
it's a work in progress, I tell you.
Yeah.
Well, very cool. If people want to know more about what you're doing, the best place to look is adrianconnor.com.
Yeah, if you want like quick up-to-date news, then you would probably hang out on Facebook, and I try to keep up on Twitter too. If you want just cool pictures and not a lot of content, just like a lot of visual content, of course, Instagram. It's annoying to type stuff on there.
Well, and it's so wild because nowadays with so many bits of social media, and also the nature, Facebook kind of changing because of everything that's happened, I see a lot of people kind of dropping off because now that they're aware that Big Brother's been watching an awful lot, they're kind of like, I think I'll just stay on Twitter and do something else,
Yeah, I've been really getting back onto that. I mean, I've had it since 2009, but it's always been like, it seemed like it was only for famous people. You know what I mean? Like really super famous people.
Yeah.
To build an audience. So it's like, is anybody even really listening to me on here? But now I'm starting to use it more and getting a little more interaction and stuff.
Gotcha. Well, Adrian, again, we appreciate you taking time to chat with us about your music and your bass journey. Folks, make sure you check out adrianconnor.com. Look for Spaz Kitty coming to a town near you if you're up here in the Northwest. Look for Hell's Bells, all kinds of interesting things. And we will look forward. Keep us certainly abreast of any projects or any cool things that you're working on. Folks, You've seen her here. Adrian Connor coming to you live on Bass Musician Magazine.
Thanks for bassing out with us here on bassmusicianmagazine.com.